we'll start on chapter 4.
Sure.
And then,
Nebuchadnezzar's second dream.
right. Yeah. I think we'll read evidently 1 through 6 form a unit. So we read 1 through 3. So we'll read 4 through 6 tonight. And then we'll read 8 through 12, maybe, or 8 to 10, 11 and 12. Anyway, because and the interesting thing is that these that we learned was that the first part's written in Hebrew. And where did the Aramaic start? Do you remember, Lori?
Yeah, that was in my little
Yeah.
that I sent out. Chapters. They're odd because Hebrew is the first chapter through second chapter, verse 4, and then chapters 8 through 12. That's Hebrew. Aramaic, which is the language of the diplomatic language of foreign empires.
Oh,
That is chapter. Those are in chapters 2, verse 4 through 7, verse 28.
Hmm.
And chapter 4 is written by a Gentile king, Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon.
all right. So, yeah.
And in chapter 8 is where Daniel, he has a lot of prophecies that I guess came true for the most part, like the rise of Alexander and the subsequent splitting of the Greek Empire.
Okay.
So it's an interesting.
Yeah, historical as well as yeah, that's good.
It's quite a book.
All right, so I think we'll read 4, 5, and 6 tonight. Lori, Sandy's
Okay.
going to start, and then we'll decide whether to read through to the end. Let's see, we'd have 7, 8,
Okay.
9. We could do 3 and 3 and 3 because it ends with 12. So we have four nights, 3 chapters each.
Okay. So so you're starting at 4 because that's the
Yeah,
chapter
we
that's
read 1
written
through
by
3.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay, all right, all right, all right. Go for it, Sandy.
Okay.
Well, let's see if Margaret. I can't. Laura, do you remember Margaret and Peter going to see the baby today, or was that?
Well, she's on standby for just going down at the
I see.
drop of a
Okay.
hat because of his. I think it's just. I don't think he's in actual danger. I think he's stable, but he's a little early, and everybody's a little nervous. So
Yeah.
she was sort of standing by to see if her daughter wanted her just to come.
Well, I think on Sunday she told me that they were going to go down not to stay, but to go and see them and see the baby and come home.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, they're not here, so maybe we
No,
just
they're not. So we might as well
forge on.
Yeah, forge. I think go ahead, Sandy. Might as well start.
All right.
Okay. King Nebuchadnezzar to all peoples, nations, and languages that live throughout the earth. May you have abundant prosperity. The signs and wonders that the Most High God has worked for me, I am pleased to recount. How great are his signs, how mighty his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his sovereignty is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was living at ease in my home and prospering in my palace. I saw a dream that frightened me. My fantasies in bed and the visions of my head terrified me. So I made a decree that all the wise men of Babylon should be brought before me in order that they might tell me the interpretation of the dream. Then the magicians, the enchanters, the Chaldeans, and the diviners came in, and I told them the dream, but they could not tell me its interpretation. At last, Daniel came in before me. He who was named Belteshazzar after the name of my God, and who is endowed with the spirit of the holy gods. And I told him the dream. O Belteshazzar, chief of the magicians, I know that you are endowed with the spirit of the holy gods, and that no mystery is too difficult for you. Hear the dream that I saw. Tell me its interpretation. Upon my bed.
Let's stop just for a minute. Barbara, we're reading, we started on chapter 4. Daniel?
Okay,
The book of
thank
Daniel.
you.
And we are at verse
10.
10? 10. We're at verse
Verse 10.
10.
Yeah,
Chapter 4,
Verse
verse
10.
10.
okay.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, okay.
Upon my bed, this is what I saw. There was a tree at the center of the earth, and its height was great. The tree grew great and strong. Its top reached to heaven, and it was visible to the ends of the whole earth. Its foliage was beautiful, its fruit abundant, and it provided food for all. The animals of the field found shade under it. The birds of the air nested in its branches, and from it all living beings were fed. I continued looking in the visions of my head as I lay in bed, and there was a holy watcher coming down from heaven. He cried aloud and said, "Cut down the tree and chop off its branches. Strip off its foliage and scatter its fruit. Let the animals flee from beneath it and the birds from its branches. But leave its stump and roots in the ground, with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field. Let him be bathed with the dew of heaven, and let his lot be with the animals of the field in the grass of the earth. Let his mind be changed from that of a human, and let the mind of an animal be given to him, and let 7 times pass over him." The sentence is rendered by decree of the watchers. The decision is given by order of the holy ones, in order that all who live may know that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdom of mortals. He gives it to whom he will, and sets over it the lowliest of human beings. This is the dream that I, King Nebuchadnezzar, saw. Now you, Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation, since all the wise men of my kingdom are unable to tell me the interpretation. You are able, however, for you are endowed with the spirit of the holy gods. Then Daniel, who was called Belteshazzar, was severely distressed for a while. His thoughts terrified him. The king said, "Belteshazzar, do not let the dream or the interpretation terrify you." Belteshazzar answered, "My lord, may the dream be for those who hate you and its interpretation for your enemies. The tree that you saw, which grew great and strong, so that its top reached to heaven and was visible to the end of the whole earth, whose foliage was beautiful and its fruit abundant, and which provided food for all, under which animals of the field lived, and whose branches the birds of the air had nests. It is you, O king. You have grown great and strong. Your greatness has increased and reaches to heaven, and your sovereignty to the ends of the earth. And whereas the king saw a holy watcher coming down from heaven and saying, 'Cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave its stump and roots in the ground, with a band of iron and bronze in the grass of the field, and let him be bathed with the dew of heaven, and let his lot be with the animals of the field until 7 times pass over him.' This is the interpretation, O king, and it is a decree of the Most High that has come upon my lord the king. You shall be driven away from human society, and your dwelling shall be with the wild animals. You shall be made to eat grass like oxen. You shall be bathed with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over you, until you have learned that the Most High has sovereignty over the kingdom of mortals, and gives it to whom he will. As it was commanded to leave the stump and roots of the tree, your kingdom shall be reestablished for you from the time that you learn that heaven is sovereign. Therefore, O king, may my counsel be acceptable to you. Atone for your sins with righteousness and your iniquities with mercy to the oppressed, so that your prosperity may be prolonged." All this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon. And the king said, "Is this not magnificent Babylon, which I have built as a royal capital by my mighty power and for my glorious majesty?" While the words were still in the king's mouth, a voice came from heaven. "O King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is declared, the kingdom has departed from you. You shall be driven away from human society, and your dwelling shall be with the animals of the field. You shall be made to eat grass like oxen, and 7 times shall pass over you, until you have learned that the Most High has sovereignty over the kingdom of mortals, and gives it to whom he will." Immediately the sentence was fulfilled against Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven away from human society, ate grass like oxen, and his body was bathed with the dew of heaven, until his hair grew as long as eagle's feathers, and his nails became like birds' claws. When that period was over, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my reason returned to me. I blessed the Most High and praised and honored the one who lives forever. For his sovereignty is an everlasting sovereignty, and his kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing, and he does what he wills with the host of heaven and the inhabitants of the earth. There is no one who can stay his hand or say to him, "What are you doing?" At that time, my reason returned to me, and my majesty and splendor were restored to me for the glory of my kingdom. My counselors and my lords sought me out. I was reestablished over my kingdom, and still more greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are truth, and his ways are justice, and he is able to bring low those who walk in pride.
Great. All right. Laura, will you read chapter 4?
Chapter 5.
Oh, I'm sorry, chapter 5. Yeah, this Belshazzar, I'm really curious about this because Larry and I are going to sing Balthazar's Feast this coming fall. And it's the new the
They set this to music.
yeah. I don't know who the composer is. I can't remember. Anyway, I had never heard of it, so
King Belshazzar made a great festival for thousands of his lords, and he was drinking wine in the presence of the 1,000. Under the influence of the wine, Belshazzar commanded that they bring in the vessels of gold and silver that his father, Nebuchadnezzar, had taken out of the temple in Jerusalem, so that the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines might drink from them. So they brought in the vessels of gold and silver that had been taken out of the temple, the house of God in Jerusalem, and the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines drank from them. They drank the wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. Immediately, the fingers of a human hand appeared and began writing on the plaster of the wall of the royal palace next to the lampstand. The king was watching the hand as it wrote. Then the king's face turned pale, and his thoughts terrified him. His limbs gave way and his knees knocked together. The king cried aloud to bring in the enchanters, the Chaldeans, and the diviners. And the king said to the wise men of Babylon, "Whoever can read this writing and tell me its interpretation shall be clothed in purple, have a chain of gold around his neck, and rank third in the kingdom." Then all the king's wise men came in, but they could not read the writing or tell the king the interpretation. Then King Belshazzar became greatly terrified, and his face turned pale, and his lords were perplexed. The queen, when she heard the discussion of the king and his lords, came into the banqueting hall, and the queen said, "O king, live forever. Do not let your thoughts terrify you or your face grow pale. There is a man in your kingdom who is endowed with the spirit of the holy gods. In the days of your father, he was found to have enlightenment, understanding, and wisdom like the kingdom of the gods. Your father, King Nebuchadnezzar, had him chief of the magicians, enchanters, Chaldeans, and diviners, because an excellent spirit, knowledge, and understanding to interpret dreams, explain riddles, and solve problems were found in this Daniel, whom the king called Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will give the interpretation. Then Daniel was brought in before the king, and the king said to Daniel, So you are Daniel, one of the exiles of Judah, whom my father the king brought from Judah. I have heard of you that a spirit of the gods is in you, and that enlightenment, understanding, and excellent wisdom are found in you. Now the wise men, the enchanters, have been brought in before me to read this writing and tell me its interpretation, but they were not able to give the interpretation of the matter. But I have heard that you can give interpretations and solve problems. Now if you are able to read the writing and tell me its interpretation, you shall be clothed in purple, have a chain of gold around your neck, and rank third in the kingdom. Then Daniel answered in the presence of the king, Let your gifts be for yourself, or give your rewards to someone else. Nevertheless, I will read the writing to the king and let him know the interpretation. O king, the Most High God gave your father Nebuchadnezzar kingship, greatness, glory, and majesty. And because of the greatness that he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. He killed those he wanted to kill, kept alive those he wanted to keep alive, honored those he wanted to honor, and degraded those he wanted to degrade. But when his heart was lifted up and his spirit was hardened so that he acted proudly, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and his glory was stripped from him. He was driven from human society, and his mind was made like that of an animal. His dwelling was with the wild asses. He was fed grass like oxen, and his body was bathed with the dew of heaven, until he learned that the Most High God has sovereignty over the kingdom of mortals, and sets over it whomever he will. And you, Belshazzar, his son, have not humbled your heart, even though you knew all this. You have exalted yourself against the Lord of heaven. The vessels of his temple have been brought in before you. You and your lords, your wives, and your concubines have been drinking wine from them. You have praised the gods of silver and gold, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone, which do not see or hear or know. But the God in whose power is your very breath, and to whom belong all your ways, you have not honored. So from his presence the hand was sent, and this writing was inscribed. And this is the writing that was inscribed: Mene, Mene, Tekel, and Parsin. This is the interpretation of the matter. Mene, God has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Perez, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then Belshazzar gave the command, and Daniel was clothed in purple. A chain of gold was put around his neck, and a proclamation was made concerning him that he should rank third in the kingdom. And that very night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was killed, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. Wow.
Right. Margaret or Deb, who wants to read next? This will be the last chapter.
I can do it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. At this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, "We will never find any basis for charges against this man, Daniel, unless it has something to do with the law of his God." So these administrators and satraps went as a group to the king and said, "May King Darius live forever." The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or human being during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, your majesty, issue the decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered, in accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed. So King Darius put the decree in writing. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. "Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to any god or human being except to you, your majesty, would be thrown into the lion's den?" The king answered, "The decree stands in accordance with the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed." Then they said to the king, "Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day." When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. Then the men went as a group to King Darius and said to him, "Remember, your majesty, that according to the law of the Medes and Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed." So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating and without any entertainment being brought to him, and he could not sleep. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" Daniel answered, "May the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I ever done any wrong before you, your majesty." The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, No wound was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones. Then King Darius wrote to all of the nations and peoples of every language in all the earth. May you prosper greatly. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom, people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian.
All right, so this, so we agreed to stop here. Okay, 'cause
Happy
it now
ending.
shifts to a different kind of story, the visions of the four beasts. Okay, all right, this is great. I remember a youth group doing a Daniel and the Lions Den play at some point. I think it was at St. Mark's, Barbara. Can't remember now.
There was I didn't hear what you said, Becky. There was a plague in connection with what?
Oh, there was a play of young
Oh,
either
play. Oh,
yeah, a play, either a Sunday school class or the youth group did a Daniel and the Lions Den play. And I
oh,
think it was at St. Mark's, so it was when my kids were
Oh.
little. Anyway, it was fun.
no.
But,
I would think it'd be
great
fun to be
story.
the lion.
Yeah, we
With your
didn't have
mouth
the
shut.
yeah, we didn't have the gruesome ending of the all the people who had accused Daniel being devoured by the lions. That was we left that part out.
Oh.
Anyway,
These are the chapters that are written for the Gentiles.
okay.
So that's interesting because presumably the Jews would not be able to read these. They
Well,
they wouldn't necessarily know how to read Aramaic.
Aramaic. Although
Oh,
didn't in Jesus's time wasn't Aramaic fairly common, or
no,
not?
it was the language of the upper class.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't. It was, and Hebrew was the language of the Jews. So
Okay.
it's interesting they wouldn't be able to read this. So so he's writing to Gentiles, and he's writing it for Gentiles.
Do you think it was also orally transmitted though?
Well,
Maybe?
originally, yeah, everything was orally transmitted.
Yeah. So maybe they knew it that way.
But this is written.
Yeah. No, I know.
I mean, it's written in Aramaic. So I just find that kind of interesting that he wrote these stories are the people who are reading them are not Jewish.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
Right.
It's very different.
And they're the rich people, not the
They're I guess they're warnings.
Yeah, it's you're not so important, or you're not the one.
Right.
Even though Daniel says that he is the one.
Yeah.
Or that's what they say. They say that Daniel said that it was okay for them to be worshipped.